Finding high-quality mental health care can be daunting and exhausting. That's why Cerebral offers convenient access to online mental health services, including therapy and medication management. Cerebral's diverse clinician team can help with anxiety, depression, insomnia, stress, grief, big life changes, and more. You can schedule and communicate with your care team through Cerebral's mobile app and attend your sessions from the comfort of your own home. Get started with or without insurance. Plus, you can now use FSA or HSA. Start your first month for 50% off at Cerebral.com/ACAST.
ACAST powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What do you do when no one else is watching? What do you do that makes you happy for no reason at all? What are you obsessed with? I'm Leslie Arfin, and I'm a writer, but I'm also a dancer, a painter, a vapor, a dollhouse enthusiast, and basically just an overall hobbyist. My podcast, Filling the Void, is all about what other people are fanatically into. We talk about hobbies, even if you don't have one.
Listen to Filling the Void on Tuesdays on the Arios Network and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
ACAST helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile, the podcast where we walk home from the movies. And we're going to see a movie today. It's called Prey.
But we're watching it at home. Controversially, everyone is complaining that it didn't get a cinematic release.
Yeah, this film's got a lot of buzz, right?
Yeah, I would actually never have watched... I wouldn't be watching this movie, except that it had so much buzz. This would have been a movie Dave would have watched without me.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought, wow, Kathy's up for this. Do you know why? Because our Twitter timeline is filled with people saying that Prey is fantastic. My fear is that it's going to be overhyped for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm super excited to watch this. I love the Predator franchise. P.S. This movie is part of the Predator franchise, if anyone didn't know. Big fan. So you've got Predator, you know, the brilliant 1987 Arnie film.
We've reviewed on this podcast before.
And we've just reposted to our main feed. Yeah. So it should be the episode just before this. So please go have a listen to that. We watched it in France many years ago.
Yeah, that was
when
fun.
They released a remastered version back in cinemas. It's a great movie. It holds up. And then you've got Predator 2 with Danny Glover. You've got Predators, which I always thought was really good. Did you ever see that one?
No.
With Adrian Brody.
No.
And oh my God, that's awesome. There's like there's all these like killers and convicts. They suddenly find themselves on an alien planet. They just wake up and they're like, how did we get here? And they realise that they've been brought to a predator hunting ground by the predators, and they're like the most skilled killers and assassins that humanity has.
That does sound good.
And then they basically like fight against the predators one by one. It's so good. And then you had Alien versus Predator, which will not be spoken about. Then you had Alien versus Predator Requiem, which I cannot speak about because I didn't see it because the first one was so bad. And then there was The Predator. Come on, they need to fix their titling.
You're making me want to not watch this movie.
I think this is a clean break from all that garbage. But The Predator was the most disappointing one because that was directed and co-written by Shane Black, who had a cameo or small part in the first Predator. The nerdy guy with the glasses, and is a very prolific and well-respected writer and director of Kiss Kiss, Bang Bang, Lethal Weapon. He wrote that, and then he produced this absolute garbage movie.
Though it probably is one of those things where like the studios interfered and like ruined his vision and stuff.
I don't know. He's a co-writer and director, and Kathy, it was the worst kind of... I cannot describe to you how bad and disappointing that movie.
Why are you telling me all this before we go and watch another Predator movie?
Yeah, I don't know. Was this maybe I'm trying to balance you out because you were quite excited from all the hype, and then I was excited, like, Kathy, get a load of this very hit and miss franchise.
Well, first of all, I think the fact that the title is called Prey is very cool.
Very clever.
Can't believe it hasn't been done before. So I'm here for the title. But most of all, I really like the director Dan Trachtenberg, because what was that amazing movie he directed that we love?
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, and I'm not a horror person.
Fantastic.
And I loved 10 Cloverfield Lane. I thought it was a spectacular movie.
It was kind of a psychological horror.
It was
right?
like a psychological thriller horror.
And if anyone hasn't seen that, don't read up anything about it. Just go watch it. It stars John Goodman and 2 other young actors who I cannot remember their names, but they're very good. The guy from Newsroom. It's a fantastic sort of claustrophobic horror movie.
Anyway, because of that and the buzz it's getting, I'm hyped to see Prey.
Yes, yeah, that was his feature debut. That was as well. So
so let's go watch
awesome.
it.
Yes,
Disney
I'm
Plus,
really excited.
in the comfort of our own home. It's a shame.
Or Hulu if you're in the States.
It's the kind of movie that probably would be better on a big screen. But also, I actually truly don't believe it would have ever gotten all this buzz if it just had been on the big screen, because I think people like to feel a bit hard done by, and they like to complain, and people like to complain that Disney didn't release it.
I reckon this would have done a bit of money at the box office. I mean, tell me what else is out right now? Now, I know it's the summer, right? And it's an unseasonable heat wave as well across Europe. So I'd say cinema box office is probably down in general. But what's out? I mean, we went to
Nope
League
is
of
coming
Super
out
Pets.
here.
Oh, Nope is out on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. That's tricky. If you had to pick this weekend, this were in the cinema,
you wouldn't go up against Nope.
I'd probably go to Nope.
I'd go see Nope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're digressing.
Anyway, let's go watch Prey.
Yeah.
We'll see you very shortly.
Bye.
There's something out there. I'm coming with you.
You can't.
I'm trying to protect you.
Protect me from what? It's time.
Hi, we're back. We've seen Prey. And you better pray that it's as good as you think it is.
Nice.
I really should have thought that through. I had the first half of the sentence. Didn't have a second half. So, Kathy, what did you think of it? Oh, sorry. Hello. Welcome. If it's your first time here, by the way, there's no spoilers. This is a safe space.
Yeah.
Until, obviously, we turn onto Spoiler Street. That's on our way home. Mm-hmm. And you will be warned.
You'll be warned.
So,
spoiler, there's a predator in this movie.
Well, can I tell you a fun fact I learned?
You can, go.
In a quick panic production research thing I did. Mm-hmm. Dan Trachtenberg wanted to keep the fact that there was a predator in this movie secret.
That would have been amazing.
How good would that have been?
Marketing.
He just wanted, exactly. He didn't want it to appear anywhere in the marketing. Just call it Prey. Just have it about a female Comanche warrior. That's the plot. And then have it sort of word of mouth viral.
That would have been amazing.
It's actually a Predator movie. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, but he probably thought he was going to have a guerrilla marketing strategy as well as loads of money and be in the cinema. And it's like, no, mate, it's just on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I know.
So you may as well put it in the synopsis, because otherwise probably people wouldn't have watched it. Do you know what I mean?
I know, but then as soon as they hear it's a Predator movie, they will watch it, right? I don't know.
I guess.
I don't think that would have worked for a cinematic release. I think it would have worked for a streaming release.
Oh, well.
Because who cares if you've got a little bit of a long tail and it's out a week and nobody watched it the first week, but then enough people start talking about it and they're like, oh my God, it's a Predator movie.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Having only seen the first Predator, so I'm taking this as a direct sequel/prequel to that.
Uh-huh. Which it
kind
of is, by the way. You don't have to have watched any of the others.
You don't have to watch any of the others, but I actually think first and foremost this is actually made by someone who really cares for that movie and is a definite homage to that movie. I think this is a great movie. I really enjoyed it. Like I was saying to Dave as we were watching it, this isn't my vibe. I would not be watching this movie if it wasn't for all the hype. And if our listeners hadn't all asked us to watch it. But actually, as I got into it, I'd say after the first 20 minutes, I was fully on board. I love the main character. I love the setting. I love all the cool stuff they've done because it's in the 1700s. So it's old-timey Predator. And absolutely thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really good, and it was a lovely short duration as well. It was only about an hour and a half, which I always am pleased about, and there's some really good lines that reference the first movie, so I was delighted about that. The only way this movie could have been better is if Arnold Schwarzenegger had showed up.
How would that have happened?
He could have been one of the settlers or something.
What, just as a little cameo? But then that breaks continuity. That would be too weird. I guess he could have been maybe it's his great grandfather who was I'm sorry. The thing that
And then because he would have been a French settler, he'd be like, "Je ne pas."
Oh my
Time
God!
to bleed.
Arnold Schwarzenegger with a French accent. I want to hear.
Yeah,
now.
it would have been amazing.
Je ne pas time to bleed. Now, Kathy, we said that we watched the Predator in France, and that's the best you can do.
That's the best I can do. Yeah.
What was I going to say? The thing that
what
really
did you think about it, Dave?
I loved it as well, but the thing that really stood out to me from what you just said was the idea of an old-timey predator. And now I just like imagine could someone make a comic strip
He's in
called
a petticoat.
Old-Timey Predator, and he's like, now you see, things used to be different to kids. The way the hunting's gone these days.
Instead of the helmet, he wears a monocle. That would have been awesome.
And he rides a penny farthing. I thought this was a cracking movie. Really, really strong. It took a while for me to kind of get into it.
Same.
I think,
that's where I thought if we were in the cinema, we'd have gone into it quicker.
Exactly. You said it best.
Thank you.
When you said nothing at all. When you turned to me on the couch and you said, "Do you know what? This is like." You said this would have been better at the cinema because it's kind of breaking the immersion that we keep turning to each other and talking, which I thought was quite ironic because you turned to me to explain that situation. But you're right. There is a sort of there's an input. We are kind of naturally
we also
won't shut up
and we do the dishes at our dinner.
You can't help it, and it's just it does break the immersion. So it's a little bit unfortunate, and we had to force ourselves to write because I think. Certainly for the first half as it's gearing up, it's kind of just like letting you live in her world a bit. Mm-hmm. It's kind of soak up the atmosphere. But I think it's worth putting in that effort because I think this is a really... it's a beautiful film. I think Dan Trachtenberg and his cinematographer did an incredible job. They shot it in Canada. And I think it's set in the Great Plains, which covers Colorado and Canada, which explains to me why there were French settlers there, which was confusing me because I kind of thought when we were watching it we were somewhere in the United States. But it looks... Sorry, we're going up a hill. It looks really beautiful, and you really kind of live in her world and how they hunt. What I think he does really well is this sort of visual exposition, right? Mm-hmm. We'll talk a bit in spoilers, but there's a lot of sort of shots of natural predators and prey in wildlife, okay? And we see how the predator and our protagonist, played by Amber Midthunter, sort of slot into that food chain almost. Mm-hmm. And then I think really the movie is called Prey because it's all about underestimating prey. Like, what's the difference between prey and predator and how those are treated, and that sort of label, we see that visually demonstrated really well throughout the movie.
I mean, I've seen Zootropolis, so I knew all about that.
Yeah.
Anyway. I also think the girl is amazing, isn't she?
She was fantastic. I haven't seen her
so
before.
much of that actress who's in
Aubrey
Parks and
Plaza.
Rec.
Yeah. Oh my God, so much. I was going to say the same to you.
Her.
It's her. It's not just like she looks like her, but her
facial expressions.
You know the way Aubrey Plaza used to do that sort of like darting her eyes around and kind of looking away and then looking at camera.
Like
I was like, whoa, this is Aubrey Plaza versus the Predator. But yeah, no, she is absolutely brilliant. She holds the film. I will say, I mean, like some of the sort of plot of this movie is a little bit tropey, you know. But only
I don't mind that
only because we've seen it a lot of times. Like, I'm thinking of Brave, the Pixar film, as one example, and you know, this whole idea of a girl who wants to be a hunter and be respected but isn't by her community. How to Train Your Dragon kind of deals with that a little bit as well. So but
I don't mind that, because if you're thinking of like what is kind of positioned to us as a very macho patriarchal group of people, and a girl who wants to be a hunter, she would have to go way further to prove herself than someone else. So yes, it's a bit tropey, but also it's probably very accurate if you were in that situation.
I'm in no way questioning its accuracy. I think the film feels like, and I can't speak to it because I'm not familiar with the culture or the setting, but I feel that the film seems to have gone to great lengths to present itself very accurately. I read that the Jane Myers, who's the producer on this movie, is part of the indigenous culture that they shot in, as is Amber Midthunter, and she said that normally when a film crew comes to this setting, because they filmed it on native land, mm-hmm. that they have to go through a series of processes and then bless it and all that. But they said that because the majority of their like cast and crew were actually also indigenous, it was like it was almost like an inside ceremony. They got a different type of ceremony.
Cool.
So I think clearly great care and attention to detail has been provided to this film. So I'm not at all saying I don't think it's believable or accurate. I mean, it's about aliens, whatever.
But any young hero
I think
we
I've
meet,
just seen it a lot.
That's she's
all.
our young central character. Like, she's effectively a Luke Skywalker. Like, young central characters have to have obstacles. They have to train and they have to overcome obstacles. And that's just is the nature.
It's
of
not
it.
a big complaint. I'm just saying it's a trope because I've seen that done a lot before. It didn't provide anything fresh
but it's
from
our
a
hero's
character
journey.
perspective. Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. I'm just saying it's not fresh. What is fresh is this setting and mixing it with the Predator franchise. I think that is a really interesting angle.
Because I was watching it, and now that you say he originally wanted to keep the Predator but a secret, I was thinking, this didn't nearly need to be a Predator movie, and the fact that it's so good and then the Predator comes is class.
Exactly. That's exactly it, because the movie works without all that.
Yeah, exactly.
But the
movie
because
they could have been
she's the
tracking
star.
a bear, like, do you know what I mean?
And it would have been just as good.
Yeah.
But the Predator thing is just icing on the cake,
Yeah.
because you get some incredible
But let's go to
action
spoilers
scenes.
now.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll go to spoilers.
So I highly recommend it. Well, Kathy, it's interesting. Would you recommend it to people who who this movie, as you say, for you, it's not your vibe?
Yeah, it's not my vibe. I would recommend it, yeah. I mean, like, let's face it, if you've got a Disney Plus subscription in here or over at Hulu in the States, why wouldn't you watch it? Like, it's a very good new release. They don't tend to have
it's already on your telly
or non-Disney adult movie releases on that platform. So yeah, absolutely, I recommend it. In fact, it felt really odd to me that I was watching it on Disney Plus. That part of it was weird.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, that you've just referenced Disney and Marvel and Star Wars, right? Because Disney is, it knows what to do with those. It makes a lot of attention for those big properties. It's tentpole stuff and Pixar and it's Disney movies.
And they've picked this up and they don't know what to do with
it
it.
seems like they don't know what to do. They've acquired these franchises from 20th Century Fox, and this is, I would say, the Predator, while it has a track record of mostly misses, it is a very beloved franchise, as is the Alien franchise.
Well, in this day and age where it's so hard for movies to get made, when you have a franchise movie that has like mass awareness, like, you can do a lot with it, and particularly this angle of it, because it feels very different, and you've got this very cool director, and you had his guerrilla marketing idea. I feel like they could have, if they'd wanted to,
had a
done
bit
like
more
a really,
confidence in it,
or just even done, that kind of cool cinematic marketing where they release it in a few small screens, they let word of mouth travel, then they widen the window, then it gets into more cinemas, and then put it on Disney Plus. I feel like it was a bit of a miss for them, to be honest.
That's so true, because that's how films used to be distributed. Right? Yeah. Decades ago. I mean, they would. That's exactly it. They
but
would
basically,
get small.
they're just like, no, we open in every cinema in the country now, in every
Not
time
only
slot.
that, the Globe. Like when we grew up, there was no day in date release with us in the US or anything. We'd wait months to see.
So I think
Star Wars or anything.
Disney didn't quite know what to do with it, but I think, in fairness to them, they probably gained some new subscribers from it, so it's not a bad thing for them to have it on their platform, and it's getting great word of mouth. So I'd say, though, directors don't like their movies going straight to VOD, so I'd say he's not happy about it.
Probably
I would imagine,
not,
yeah.
I'm sure.
But what he'll be very happy about is what it may have actually gotten is way more eyeballs than if it had been in the cinema, because how many people have Disney Plus? I read the other day that they now exceed Netflix in terms of global subscriptions.
Well, and the Hulu, it was the biggest premiere on Hulu this year, I think, and same on Disney Plus.
But it's interesting because cinemas are trying to move away from the premiering on demand model, because they want to get people, distributors want to get people back into cinema. So Disney have almost done this like 2 years too late, because they're trying to get bums back in cinema seats. So it's very interesting.
And
anyway.
it's really funny in the context of the Warner Brothers Discovery Plus news in the past couple of weeks around them focusing on theatrical and pulling stuff from streaming services.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I feel like we're in a really interesting time where none of the studios really know what to do with streaming. I think
at least Discovery
Netflix
didn't buy Fox, because if they did, they'd have just written this off for tax purposes.
Yeah, exactly. We'd have never seen it.
Anyway, on to spoilers.
Spoiler Street now. Spoilers for Prey. So you have been warned. The 3 red spoiler dots are coming up on your forehead, and you're about to be spoiler shot. Here we go.
Can I tell you my favourite bits about it?
Yes.
as I said, I love the old-timey bits about the Predator, so I love that the Predator is still kind of high-tech and has lasers and stuff, but then has to use like a bow and arrow to shoot. I thought that was really fun.
Well, he wasn't taking... I don't think he had a bow and arrow, but his projectiles were like arrows. I love that as well, because in the original it's a laser beam, right? Which is 300 years later. So, yeah, I love that as well. That, of course, the Predator technology would have progressed in 300 years.
He's got kind of like a bomb, and all the men are standing around it because they don't know what a bomb is. Yeah. They're just watching a bomb ticking. And I love this is when the movie like cemented itself for me as a classic. I love the twist on Arnie in the first movie when he goes like into the mud to cool himself down. I love the twist on that in this movie because she's a healer and she does medicine, and the start of the movie there's like a bit of a tension between the expectation from her family that she should be a healer and like her desire to be a warrior, and then those two things come together and she uses her medicine to cool herself down. And then she becomes the hunter, and I was just like, that was such good writing, and it was done so well, visually executed, that like it was so clear what was happening, because so often in movies like this it's not visually clear what you're watching. And
that's what's so good about her as a character, and it is that the sort of patriarchal society in which she exists sort of reveres strength and in terms of hunting, but actually she applies smarts to hunting.
And
she's
that
the first
beautiful
person...
moment with her brother where he says, "You were right about catching the lion."
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, that was
very
lovely.
Good.
I loved her and her brother.
Yeah, exactly. I thought they had a great relationship. Those two actors were brilliant. It was very believable. But I did think so. I thought her whole character journey was excellent. I did think I have one minor bugbear, and it is minor, but I feel like the film went to great lengths to provide us with very clear sort of visual exposition. So you see, several times we see a snake attacks a mouse, and then the predator attacks the snake, not the mouse. We see him attack the wolf, not the rabbit. Mm-hmm. So we get it, right? But then she gets that. She realizes that later. But then they had to. It's like they treated the audience a bit unfairly by having her say the line. Something like, "No, it only attacks." When I felt like that was a bit on the nose, and there was another bit where...
That was a bit where I was like, I bet the director or the writer didn't want to put that in.
Exactly.
But
someone was like, "No, you've got to spell it out for the stupidest person in the audience," and whatever.
But also, in fairness, I'd say it's not an 18s. I don't know the rating, but like there would be teenagers watching it, and they might need that.
But give teenagers some credit. I mean, the movie makes it very clear. And the other bit was the one you mentioned, which I loved as well. This orange flower which slows down your heart rate and makes you look cool. That's genius to insert that. We've seen it used twice. He shows us the effect that the predator has very clearly. He cannot see this guy, and he's being still. Mm-hmm. And like we see her moment, she acts it very well, of the realization that, oh my God. And then she has to say the line, like she says out loud, "Oh, it can't see because it's cooled down." And I'm like, no.
I know, but that's such a
really
tiny
frustrated
bugbear.
me.
Like, it's not even worth like.
Now I have one last bugbear, and then I'll focus on the stuff I like. I thought that this film did a great job of grounding me and making me believe that all this wasn't really happening or could really happen. Do you know what I mean? I was completely with it. And which is a brilliant bit of magic trick, because it's an alien running around in the Great Plains, right? But I was like, I'm there. This is so believable. The bit that took me out, and everything she did, I was like, she's awesome. I love it. She's MacGyver. Then, but for whatever reason, the final way she got him by setting up this helmet to the exact angle that she was going to trap this predator in. Like if she had, and then trapping him. I like the idea of trapping him in that tar pit, which we saw earlier. I thought that was brilliant, and I love that they did the reverse shot, famous shot from Predator of Arnie coming out of the mud.
Yeah, that was class.
And they reversed it. It's the predator coming out of the mud, and this is kind of prey predator. I mean, it's like this is almost the opposite of them in some ways. I loved that, but then it's like, and then she knew that he would try and kill her with his projectile in that moment.
Yeah.
And that she somehow knew that it had some sort of heat-seeking thing, and she somehow had calculated the exact angle where his head would be, which she would need his height for. Not only the height...
She is very clever. They've established that earlier.
The depth of... She wouldn't know how far into the pit he was. If her calculations were off by half a degree, it wouldn't have hit him.
Yeah, but
so
I think she...
I'm sorry, it was too much for me.
But if her calculations were off and she would have realised he wasn't in the right place, she would have ducked or something, like... That was just like a cool way to finish it. Also on the mud pit, I want to get another bit on that, or the tar pit, which I thought was extra cool, was that early on in the movie when she lands in it, we were like, oh, now she's going to figure out that if she's covered in mud, the predator can't see her, and it's going to be like an homage to Arnie. And I love that the movie was kind of fucking with us, because that's not what she used. But if she had used it, we'd have been perfectly satisfied with that. Like, the movie elevated beyond what I was expecting.
Exactly.
I would have been very happy for her to be doing all that stuff like Arnie did.
The movie zagged when we thought it was going to zig.
Yeah.
Several times. I thought it was absolutely fantastic in that regard. I thought the Predator action scenes were really good. I thought the one with him against the French colonists was particularly entertaining.
That was
gory.
so fun because they were immediately set up as like our buffoonish villains. So like we're delighted to see them all gone.
And I thought Dan Trachtenberg shot action really well.
Yeah,
I think
good.
Between him and his cinematographer, really, really well. I thought the bear attack was particularly good.
That was amazing. I was like,
it was scary.
Real bear, like it felt very real.
I think that was actually the scariest part of the scene in the movie, I would say.
Bears
I was
are
more
terrifying.
scared by that bear than I was the predator.
Because I think it's because we know in real life we could be attacked by a bear.
Yeah.
Whereas the predator probably won't attack us. I mean, it certainly wouldn't see me as a predator, so it would never attack me. But the bear stuff was terrifying because that bear was huge. It was running, and when it just like she was saved basically by this like shallow rock thing, and then you see the predator catching the bear and dragging it, and it was just such a good setup. I love the idea that like now I haven't seen all the Predator movies, so I can't speak to them, but like generally my vibe is it's always about these big muscly men fighting the predator, so I love that this was all flipped and it was like her wit and the fact that she is prey-esque is actually what won the day for her.
And as you said, that idea is actually rooted in the first ever film, because it's the same exact thing. There's 7 or 8 big muscly commandos, and none of them can take him on by standing in the middle and going, come on, get you. But Arnie beats him with his smarts.
Yeah.
Again, right? He sets traps. He covers himself in mud. It's the same, you're one ugly motherfucker.
Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Trachtenberg got commissioned to make another one of these movies now.
I think there's talk of they're looking at other ways. I kind of hope he doesn't. I don't want to see him get stuck here. I think he's a fantastic filmmaker, and I think he's going to have an amazing future ahead of him. And I think that he could kind of do anything now. This movie has got incredible word of mouth.
Yeah.
It's getting very well critically received. I'm sure Disney are thinking, fuck, we probably could have made a bit of money by releasing this in the cinema.
But isn't it interesting? Because
I'd say he could write a blank check now for another project.
Warner's are doing filmmakers dirty by canning their films, right? Like Batgirl. And Disney have done Dan Trachtenberg dirty by dumping it on Disney Plus. So they're pissing movie makers off as well. And I find that really interesting. Will movie makers want to go with more independent studios because their stuff's being ditched on streaming services and they want people in the cinema?
And don't forget the cast as well. Scarlett Johansson took them to court, didn't she, last year for the same reason?
And that was interesting though, because she had made her deal based on like a cinema kickback, and then because it was released on streaming and she didn't get it. Whereas I guess they're probably not making those deals anymore.
No,
when
but
there's an assumption it might go on a streaming service.
But apparently they're bumping up budgets, or they're bumping up paychecks to creatives and to filmmakers and cast for streaming movies because they don't get the backing.
Yeah, after we watched Grey Man, we read that they both, Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling,
they got $20 million each or
$25
something?
million each.
Yeah,
because they don't get the kickback from the cinema screenings.
So a quarter of the budget. So because it was $200 million, that movie, it was the most Netflix had ever spent on a movie. A quarter of that budget went to those two, or nearly a quarter.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
absolutely nuts. Anyway, I'm really glad we watched it. Thanks everyone for saying we should watch it. Thanks Dave for encouraging me to watch it, because I just would never have otherwise.
One last thing, how cool was her axe with the rope attached to it?
I'm obsessed with that. Yeah. And I love we got the payoff of her doing like the axe montage, and then when she's in the tar pit, we're like, again it like played with us, because I thought straight away she'd get the axe up. It took her about 7 throws to get the axe up, and she was like about to drink some tar at that point.
I was so tense at that moment. Not that I thought she was going to die, I didn't think that was going to happen, but I genuinely didn't know how she was going to get out of it. And it seemed like that wasn't going to work, and she'd have to be rescued. And
also,
I was just
like I guess
when it caught, I let my breath go.
A bit of a chance that like the brother could have rescued her. I really liked the brother, and I was saying to Dave at the beginning, I had actually I misinterpreted and presumed he was like courting her and he was like a love interest of sorts, because we so rarely see platonic or brother-sister relationships on film that I had just naturally presumed it was a romantic or could have been a romantic relationship. So I love that we saw the brother and sister relationship.
I thought it was a lot more powerful than if it had been romantic.
It was way more powerful, and that he's like the best hunter in the village, and when he came home with the lion's head or the lion's body over his shoulders, and we saw how revered he was, and like she's so upset because she wanted to catch that lion. And I love that moment at the end when he was like, no, you were right, like your idea was right, that's how I caught the lion.
And he
Such
and
a
she
lovely
had weakened
moment.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that was all brilliant. And then when she came home, the closing shot of the movie, she comes home with the fucking predator's head
so
in her hand,
good.
and she's dripping in his blue gooey blood, and it's all over her face.
I'd say green.
That's incredible.
Is it green?
Whatever it was awesome.
Yeah,
anyway.
it was amazing.
It was so cool.
Right, thanks for listening. Let us know your thoughts on the Predator, or what's it called? No, Prey. Let us know your thoughts on that. We're at the Cinemile on all of the social media channels. We are thecinemile@gmail.com if you want to email us. And if you enjoyed this and if you like listening to our show, please leave us a nice review.
Yeah, leave us a 5-star review. They really matter. And also over on our Patreon, where we do film and TV reviews, retro movies, and we do TV. We're actually going to next week watch House of Dragon and review that, so come over to Patreon.
Is it next week that's out?
It's out Monday week.
Okay.
So come over and listen, because we're going to be talking about that, which is like full circle for us, because we started our Patreon to do Game of Thrones reviews, so I'm really excited about that.
And we've also next week we're going to have an episode on the movie Sunshine, but with Danny Boyle's Sunshine, which we recorded with the two lovely Cork lads, Will and Kev, from the Best Bits podcast.
Yeah, so that's going to be on our Patreon next week as well.
So patreon.com/thecinemile. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Whatever did this, I can kill it.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Jessie Cruikshank, and I've always been told I have a face for podcasting. So I launched a podcast. It's called Phone a Friend, because each week I'll break down the biggest stories in pop culture. But when I have questions, I get to phone a friend. I'll phone a royal watcher to find out why Prince Harry is acting like a real housewife. I'll phone a tween to please explain Euphoria. And maybe I'll even phone a Backstreet Boy to find out if I still have a chance. I don't? Okay. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.